Well, there's been more reaction now to the DA's announcement that it was withdrawing from the national dialogue. EFF leader Julius Malema says the Democratic Alliance must respect the president and follow government protocol. Malema was reacting to the recent ultimatum given by the DA to the president regarding the removal of its Member of Parliament, Andrew Whitfield, as Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry.
They have no reason to complain. They went into a marriage and knowing very well that they are going with an ANC corrupt government into a marriage. These are unnecessary threats. If the DA was anti-corruption, the DA was pro-poor, the DA was to ensure that they will restore the dignity of our people, they should have allowed the ANC to govern as a minority party. There was nothing forcing them to go into government. They should have stood outside and allowed the ANC to constitute its own government and continue to oppose the ANC if they want to do so. You cannot oppose the government you are part of. They are in government. Whatever decision Ramaphosa takes, they are part of that decision because they decided to be part of this mess. So if they don't want the mess, they must stay outside and then allow the ANC to do a minority government. The ANC has got a minority government in Gauteng. They refuse to work with the DA. So the DA can freely express itself without any hesitation because they are not part of government. How do you become part of government and travel overseas without the permission of a president? That is not government. That is anarchy. And when you are being punished in line with what the president is responsible for, you complain. They just want to run like they are government on their own. There is no president. There is a president here, whether they like him or not, they voted for him. And then they have to respect him and respect the government protocols. They don't want that, they must step out and let the ANC do its own mess. And then we all oppose it collectively.
So they just hit it for yourself. Julius Malema has made his position very, very clear, that the DA is not forced to be where it currently is at right now. And looking at it, from what Ramaphosa did, he made the right decision, because he did not accept, that letter that was sent by that guy. Because you know what people say, if you write a letter requesting something and you don't get a response, that silence in itself, it doesn't mean that whatever that you've said has been approved. If anything, that silence, it actually means that your request has been rejected. So the challenge with this guy, this deputy guy, is that he took that silence from Ramaphosa as a yes. And now Ramaphosa is taking action, to what this guy just did, just showing up, without any approval from him. So the DA, they came out out of their press conferences and they said that they're not going to take part in the national dialogue. And after this statement, I saw something being said by Snow Tambo, and he was saying, what? Did the DA have a problem with the national dialogue, which was set to cost 700 million rands? They did not see any problem with that, but they are now seeing a problem with that after their guy Whitfield has been removed. It's not making sense. So what it means is that if Whitfield had not been removed, they would not have seen a problem. So this is the kind of challenge, the question that Snow Tambo was posing out there. So one of the big challenges that is there is that, the DA seems to have lost, their grip in these kinds of communications, It seems as if they must agree amongst themselves, that they are indeed willing to walk away from this thing, but they seem to be unsure whether they're willing to walk away or not, and they really don't know right now what really can trigger their exit. So due to a lot of this uncertainty, you can clearly see that the national dialogue is definitely going to proceed whether they are there or not. So this entire scenario, what does it mean for the EFF and Malema? It obviously means that the DA is sort of like out there to try and stop them from getting into the GNU, because the EFF has made their position very, very clear that we are not going in there for as long as the DA is in there. And one thing about the EFF is that in as much as they can be described in so many ways, they are very principled in what they say. And in this instance, the EFF is very, very solid. They will never walk in there into the GNU for as long as the DA is there. And the DA also knows that, and they will never go out because they'll be allowing the EFF to go in. So overall, looking at the DA, they seemed to have been doing really well when they were in opposition benches, and being part of this GNU, they seem to be compromising their principles. But it's something that has to be done, because you are in a marriage with someone. And when you're married to somebody, there are compromises that you have to make here and there. It's something that just has to be done. So I'm also seeing another thing here that it was being said in defense of what Andrew did. And it's being said that it was a party funded trip, the trip that Andrew made to Washington that then led to his termination as the deputy minister. So John Steenhuisen was saying it was not government related. That is the party funded trip in itself. But the other question that then comes to that is then why they need permission from the president to then go on this trip if it was party funded and not related to the government. So you see that there is just no way around this entire issue for Andrew. So this is where we are in the DA. They seems to just have to accept this entire situation as it is. And all they have to do now is to find another replacement for Andrew. That's the only solution that they have right now, to just find a replacement for Andrew and move on with life. And regarding to the issue of pulling out of the national dialogue, it really doesn't matter much, What they just have to do is just to find a replacement for Andrew and move on. And as for Malema and the EFF, there is no way they are going into the GNU because the DA is not moving out. I'll catch you guys on the next one.